Welcome to Hungry for Answers with me, Robin Clare, recovery coach professional. Do you love food, alcohol, drugs, sex, social media, cigarettes, or gambling a little too much? The traditional narrative says that addiction to these vices is the problem. The truth is, they are just symptoms. This hit show takes you from recovery to your ultimate life as my special guests and I help you discover how underneath every vice is the addiction to the suffering that developed due to unhealed trauma. So what can you do? Hungry for Answers provides groundbreaking, proven solutions from my best-selling spiritual book, Feast and Famine: Healing Addiction with Grace. It's time to stop suffering and start living your ultimate life. You have a divine right to a life filled with love, joy, peace, and abundance. Hungry for Answers starts now. Hi, and welcome to Hungry for Answers with me, Robin Clare. So this is part 2 of a 2-part segment called Welcome Back, Jersey Girl. And I did the first one on July 7th, if you didn't have a chance to hear it. Jersey Girl is my alter persona, and she's been around for as long as I've been around. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we talked about on the July 7th so that I can bring you up to the present moment here. So I grew up in New Jersey. The Urban Dictionary describes a Jersey girl as almost always a lady until you mess with her or her family, and then they will kick your butt. And this has actually been my story. And it's just funny because when I do get into that kick your butt phase, people are typically shocked because I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm very peaceful. People always say to me, I love listening to you because you make me feel calm. I like being in your presence. And then there's this alter ego part of me that will just like really kick your butt if I feel like you're not towing the line. And it's just really funny. So it turns out that Jersey girls are the best kind of friends, right? They always have your back. And the best kind of parent, whether mother, for early, obviously Jersey girls are mothers. And it's the kind of mother that, them, they're like the mother bears. And they just will do anything for their kids and make sure that things are fair for them. So I'm really not talking about Karens. When we know what Karens are today, they're just really obnoxious. But a Jersey girl mom will make sure that everything is fair and equitable. And she will be nice about it at first. So that's who you're looking for. So I grew up with brothers. I was the only girl in my neighborhood. I was a tomboy. And then my dad passed away when I grew up, and my mom remarried, and I got 3 more brothers, and there you have it. I worked in corporate America. I worked with a lot of men, and I was good at it because I really knew how to play with boys, is what I used to say, because I grew up with boys. And so I had this assertive, almost aggressive, tough, competitive nature in corporate America, but I was also kind and funny. But I didn't really call that part of myself Jersey girl. I didn't understand that name or that process, but that's who she was. And then I began to go on the spiritual path, and I began to see a different side of myself that was a kinder, gentler, more connected to the earth and the sky and the community. And I'm like, oh, I like her. I like her a lot. And then there was Jersey girl corporate Robin. And I'm like, wow, these two don't even connect. And so I decided that I needed to find my authentic self. And I left corporate America to begin my own business. And I kind of left Jersey girl at the office. at my corporate office. And that had a real impact on what kind of business person I was as an entrepreneur. I actually wasn't a good business person. I was very creative. I was very engaging. I was very supportive of others, but I didn't know how to value myself. And I believe the process of valuing ourselves comes from our ability to engage with our own Jersey girl persona, or what I refer to as my masculine energy. So I explained in the first segment that we're both feminine and masculine, the feminine being the creator part of our lives, the creatrix, the birther of ideas. And then we have our masculine energy who comes in to support the feminine, to provide abundance for the idea and to actually get it done, get it out there and get it complete. And then to provide. So it's funny how we can see our feminine and masculine energies correspond to basically what happens many times in relationships between men and women. That's a little old fashioned. And you, my younger viewers, might be saying, what are you talking about? But so that's how it used to be. Now, of course, there's a lot more equity in relationships between men and women. And there's not this distinction. But what I really want to point out is that both men and women have masculine and feminine energy. And in a relationship, what you really want to do is find to match each other. If someone's more on the feminine side working on a project for the family, then you be the masculine side and you help get it done. Or, if the male in the relationship is being very creative, and then you as a feminine come in and be the masculine energy and get that done too. So, or that you as a female can get it done, can execute it. And so a good relationship and a sound relationship is one that really understands the masculine and feminine aspects of themselves and the relationship. And that's when you have a successful marriage, I think, in today's environment. And so I left corporate America. I started my business. It wasn't as successful as I wanted it to be. Why? Because I didn't know how to value myself, because I only knew how to value myself by what somebody told me in corporate was my value. And so I had to learn how to value myself. But I realized that I really needed Jersey Girl back, but I brought her back in this modified way of being maybe, my enthusiasm behind my, the wind behind my sails. And I really needed her differently. And so let's go into what that looked like. So this is now the beginning of part 2. So 8 months ago, my mom and my stepdad moved back to New Jersey to go into assisted living. My mom was 95 years old and my stepdad, I think 91. And so over the winter, my mom was diagnosed with cancer at 95. But then in the spring, she had COVID. They both had COVID. It went through their assisted living place. And the combination created this downward spiral for my mom. And I could see that my stepdad was in denial. My mom was in the last part of her life. The COVID just really, they call that comorbidity, I think is the term. And you could see that she was leaving us, but my stepdad couldn't see that. And the conversations and her care started to become a battle. And Jersey Girl actually said to me, I remember standing on the patio of the assisted living place, and Jersey Girl said to me, "Step out of the way, I got this." And I'm like, oh boy, Jersey Girl is back. And so I didn't know what Jersey Girl would be like in this scenario, which was very delicate because there was my mother, there was my stepdad who was in denial and, very upset about what was going on with my mom. There were the assisted living people who wanted care a certain way. There was hospice who wanted care a certain way. There were my brothers. It was like this dance that I was trying to maneuver as I became the warrior for my mom's care. That's the only way I could describe it. Jersey Girl came in as a warrior. And so, was she gracious? Not always. She was tough and direct and maybe a tad snarky and aggressive. But hey, she was actually out of practice to be polite. In corporate America, like I talked about, she knew how to be polite. But in this situation where I was trying to get my mom the appropriate care that she needed, she wasn't nice. And what I also found is that I said things to people that maybe I didn't need to. Certain people in my family, like maybe I could have been nicer. I don't know, but I got to say it, and I got to have wonderful conversations with my mom, and we got to do our final healing. And it was such an incredible time period. I still feel my mom died less than a month ago, so I'm still feeling the PTSD almost from that time period. And I'm also in mourning. And so I don't feel healed. And then after the day after, a couple of days after the funeral, I got COVID and my husband got COVID. So it was kind of like, okay, I think we're going to need to get into bed in separate beds, obviously, because we both had COVID, and rest. And so I've had a lot of time to process it. But one of the things that was so fun with Jersey Girl was I really liked her there. I thought she could have been maybe a little nicer or not as snarky. But I, as spiritual Robin, was just like observing her and saying, oh my God, look at you. Look at you go, girl. Like, would I have been the same as spiritual Robin, who was so codependent with spirit, like waiting for signs from spirit, accepting people's, ways as that's just the way it is. Everybody has their way. Like, I know I sound sort of wishy-washy there, but I think that's what we do on the spiritual path. This way of accepting people doesn't always give us the outcome that we most desire for the people that we love and for ourselves and for our clients. And so I'm watching Jersey Girl, and I'm like, I like her a lot. And I was surprised. I thought, well, let her just do her thing in this situation, and then we'll send her back to, Siberia. But I'm like, no, I want her to stay. I really want her to stay. So here I am. I want her to stay, and I want to integrate her into my life. And so what is my life? So there's two Robins, right? I've mentioned there's spiritual Robin, feminine, creative, kind, empathetic, communicator, just this amazing, communicator, as a coach, as an author, as a writer, as a speaker, just like she can explain all these complicated concepts to you in a way that you will understand and be able to implement in your life. And then there's Jersey Girl, and she's her masculine energy. She's tough. She's assertive. She's abundant, and she requires things for her life. Like, she doesn't take crap from people. She doesn't do that. You're in her face, she'll be back in yours, and so how do I integrate these? How do I do this? Is there room for toughness and assertiveness and abundance on the spiritual path? Like, can you be both? Can I take all of these attributes and meld them into my spiritual path? And of course, the answer is yes. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm finding out how to integrate Jersey Girl back into my life as spiritual Robin, and as the teacher, the author, the coach. And so what did I need to do? So the first thing I need to do if I'm going to bring Jersey Girl and integrate her back in, is I have to learn how to truly value myself. And I have to own that value. I need to say, these are my skills. These are my experience. This is what I can do for you. And this is what it cost. And stand in that value, because I would always not be able to do that. I would always stand in a value that I could stand in. So it's not that I undercharged. I could just never charge what I really felt the value was of what I'm doing. And that takes time. Interesting. There was a talk to a salesman who was very knowledgeable in sales. And he said to me, in simulations, women kick men's butts when it comes to negotiation. And in the real life, men typically kick women's butts. And I said, well, why is that? What changes? And they said, in the real world, men know their value better than women, and they know what number they're willing to walk away from the table. And women typically don't. So they don't know what point they're going to negotiate down to. And so whenever I'm working with my clients, when business clients or whomever, I always say to them, what number are you willing to walk away from the table with? Like what's your bottom line? And so that's something I had to learn to do. But it took time for me to really understand my value. And I feel so much more, having Jersey Girl here, I feel so much more valuable. And number two, I get to work with people, and only people I want to support. And I'm choosing to support with other warriors. I'm choosing to support other people who have lived the trauma and healed it, and now they're serving others. And the way that I do that is through recovery writing coaching and life and recovery coaching. And also I'm a keynote speaker talking about all of these things, talking about recovery and all that good stuff, and writing coaching. I'm learning, and I'm pretty good at it now, but there's still work to do to speak my truth in my personal life, to be able to say in my relationships, this is okay with me, or this is not. Jersey Girl really helped me in New Jersey to be able to say in my personal life, this is acceptable to me. This is not. This is not acceptable to me as a daughter. My mother needs more help, and we need to do this. I will not leave this room until we come to some compromise. And that compromise is going to be more of what I want than what you want. And so I was strong, and I held that because I knew that's what my mom needed to get the care that she needed. I need to speak my truth to my clients. That's a big one for all of us. I don't pussyfoot around their tough issues now. If I see something that they're not handling well, or they're sort of pussyfooting around in their writing, I talk to them about being more vulnerable in their writing. Now, sometimes they're pussyfooting around because they don't want to write something bad about somebody else, and that's okay too. I always tell them, write it anyway, but before that manuscript goes to the publisher, we will take a look at everything that you've written about someone else. And I either, one, ensure that you have their permission to write that, or two, rewrite it to make it less personalized. But I always encourage them to write it because that gives them the more healing. It gives them healing to be able to put it down on paper. I think writing a book, writing a manuscript and publishing a book is one of the most cathartic ways that you can heal your past. That's why I love being a writing coach. Okay. I'm learning to not rely on spirit for answers in my life. Everything I did was waiting for answers from spirit. And I don't know why I did that. I am a very wise person. I have my own genius. I have my own experiences. I just was waiting for signs all the time that I should move ahead. And I'm not doing that as much anymore. I'm relying on my own wisdom and my own genius and my own knowing of what feels right. Feels right. That's the key. What feels right to me versus what I'm waiting to hear from spirit, because I'm lucky, can hear messages from spirit, but it's me now. It's me now. And why is that? And I'll tell you that in a minute. And the last thing I want to do is figure out what really matters to me and manifest that. My dear friend Colleen Morgan says that what matters to us is what we will manifest into matter. And if you don't want something, don't make it matter. And if you do want something, make it matter and then materialize it. So you could see the play on all those matter. So we're moving from this idea that what we want to manifest is something outside of us, that spirit is helping us manifest, and it depends on what we're thinking and feeling. That's all moving to what matters to you inside yourself, in your own internal divinity, and whatever really matters to you. And guys, I'm just going to say this: when something really matters to you, it's a physical reaction, right? You're like, that really matters to me. Or, yes, that doesn't really matter to me. It's like you can feel it, right? And so whatever really matters to you is what you will manifest. And I invite you to know what really matters for you and manifest that in your life. So by integrating spiritual Robin, Jersey girl, or my masculine and my feminine, I am finally whole. And I am a badass writing coach, speaker, wife, and mother, and successful on my own terms. And so this is what I feel Jersey Girl has done for me. She's made me self-reliant and self-assured. And I'm so excited to have her back in my life. So how can you reach me? I am at clarity.com. That's CLARE-ITY.com. On Instagram at Clarity by Robin, and Facebook at Clarity with Robin. And as I have said on the podcast, I am a writing coach. I work for Green Heart Living Press, and I do the writing coaching, and I will get you to a manuscript. I will keep you motivated and excited, and I will help you develop your writing into a manuscript that will really be a wonderful book. We're also looking for writers for our current anthology called Surrender Your Story. And that is you would write a chapter, only one chapter, about how you surrendered your trauma and how you used that healing to stand in your own sovereign, and then you used it to help others, whether it's yourself, your family, or friends, or clients. And so go to greenheartliving.com if you would like to be part of Surrender Your Story, or check out our writing coaching programs and publishing programs. And so thank you so much. And we're in the summer now, so I hope you're getting outside and enjoying the beautifulness of summer days. And I'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you for tuning into Hungry for Answers. Learning to love ourselves is the one true solution to addiction. Make a commitment to healing today and see how you can reach your ultimate potential. Remember, you have a divine right to a life filled with love, joy, peace, and abundance. To learn more about me and my offerings, please go to clarity.com. That's Clare, CLARE-ITY.com. See you next time.